Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session about the minor arcana. And today we're going to be covering the wands. So thank you for being here. At present, it is just me, but that's lovely. It means it'd be easier for you to watch back and kind of get all the information that you need about the wands. So as we work through the minor arcana, hopefully you've had some interesting experiences with the swords as well over the last few days and come to recognize them as the kind of powerhouse that they are to cut through our nonsense, to cut through toxicity, to create really powerful boundaries. And as we move into the wands, we have a completely different energy. So the wands are based in air. Are they based in air? Sorry, I've just come completely. No, they're not based in air. I have gone completely blank as to where the wands are based. See, there's a lot of information for one person to hold. The fire. I said that and I was like, no, that's not right. The swords are air. My apologies. The wands are fire. They are creativity. They are that gorgeous kind of glow, that passion from within that we experience when we are excited, when we're passionate, when we are fueled by lust or, in fact, anger and rage. The wands are that combustion engine that pushes us like a catalyst forward into life. It really is. They are quite a fascinating and one of my favorite arcanas. So let me begin by reading from the Rebel Heart Tarot guidebook a little bit more. I might be repeating what I've already said, but this is the wands. Wands are a suit of fire, passion, and creation. They reflect the inclination of the human spirit to bring inspired ideas into the world. Whether we are called to art, baking, or revolution, wands evoke the spark within that pushes us to be greater. They require us to evolve, expand, and challenge ourselves as individuals. Wands are a lively suit that gathers our potential and dares us to do something with it. This begins as a personal journey, a path of self-love. They can feel like your soul's calling, reflecting the intensity of life as you take a gut-based feeling and start to map it out on paper or build it into your reality. Crafty, creative, and the stuff of wonder, wands call you to create adventure in your life. The wands in Rebel Heart are depicted by pens, pencils, straws, beams of light, coloured iron bars from a Ferris wheel, and candy canes. Okay, so beginning with the wands, I want you to think about the initial thoughts with regards to the wands. How do they make you feel? So if you haven't, then perhaps you can pause this video and take a moment just to separate out the wands from within your deck and begin to just gently look through them. There's so much power in the gaze, in the kind of taking a little view of one card to the next, to the next, to the next. So you start with the ace and you move all the way through to the king, and try to have a little think about what story you feel is being depicted there. What is happening from that ace of wands, that initial kind of spark of energy and possibility, all the way through to the king, where we're sat in some kind of sovereignty of whatever we've learned upon that journey. And the wands really are, like all of the arcanas, they are a journey of life, and they, it's not necessarily a straight line. You can hop backwards and forwards and between. I think sometimes there has been some confusion when I've been teaching people about the tarot, that they feel like they should be moving from ace to 2 to 3 to 4. That's not how it works. Maybe in some people's lives they get to go on that nice straight trajectory. But for many of us, we might be at ace one day and then at 8 the next day and then back down to 2. And it's not really a case of ace being more or less important than even king or queen. They're all part of this mash of life, and each card brings so much weight and importance with it, whether it's with the wands, swords, cups, or pentacles. There is the journey, a generalistic journey from ace through to king, but wherever you land on that journey is really, really important for that particular moment, and holds the wisdom and the power and the knowing that you need to engage with at any moment. So having a look across those cards, where do you think you sit? Where do you think you are at this moment as you where are you today? You know, where are the ones kind of guiding you to? Which number, which king, which queen, which court card feels like you at this exact moment in time? And that's just based upon your opinion rather than actually pulling a card, which is equally as valid. I think sometimes it's nice to just look at the images and feel which one we feel called to. So have a look now. And again, you might want to pause the video while you just do this for a second and think about which card you feel illustratively drawn to right now. And then maybe look it up in the book, have a little think about where it's reflecting on your day's events, your life's events, and where you are currently at. And sort of meditate for a few seconds on where you feel this card is really hitting for you right now. And shortly, we will pull a card each from the Wands deck. But first of all, we're going to do a little meditation. So what I would ask you to do is get yourself lovely and comfortable. The nice thing about watching this back is you can pause me and go lay down or whatever it is that you feel that you need to do. Do it in your own time. Maybe put some incense on, put some music on. Just a quick word of warning. This video might be quicker than the usual 45 minutes, just because I haven't got the interaction back and forth, which is why I'm sort of saying to you, try and spread it out over a longer period. Pause the video where you need to kind of undertake any of the exercises. I think I've already suggested 2, which is spreading the cards out and having a look from A to Z and kind of figuring your journey and then figuring which card you feel that you're drawn to. So obviously if we were all doing that in togetherness, it would have taken far longer than the 8 minutes I've currently been recording for. So please do take that time to do these things. But in the meantime, just begin to find yourself in a nice relaxed space. We're going to come together as a group in our own little timelines to take some lovely deep breaths together. So I would advise you to close your eyes. And we're going to take 3 breaths. So in through the nose, out through the mouth. And just really imagining yourself just centering in, grounding down, coming into your intuition, your internal parts of yourself, this story that lives within. So beginning with your 3 breaths whenever you feel ready. Okay. So whenever you're ready, just remaining with your eyes closed. You can keep your hands on your heart if you wish to. Or you may wish to just rest your hands gently on your lap or by your side. And we're going to go into a beautiful guided visualization. So allow yourself to just let your imagination flow to wherever it takes you and to access that in whatever way feels good to you. So I want you to bring yourself in your mind's eye to a woodland. So you are in this beautiful woodland surrounded by trees of all shapes and all sizes. And as you look up to the canopy over your head, you can see the light dappling in and trickling in and infusing in down to the ground, hitting certain spaces. And as the light hits these spaces, you might notice that those particular areas contain areas of thicker growth. For where the light reaches the earth, life is forthcoming. The earth doesn't mess around. It creates, it creates, it creates. So taking a look at the spaces where the light is reaching, we can begin to see the earth's creativity, how the earth responds to this beautiful golden sunlight that's managed to crack its way through that canopy of trees and find its way to the earth. And perhaps you notice certain flowers or certain plants, and they may feel meaningful to you. Or they may just be ever so pretty. They may be plants of your imagination entirely. And just see where you are drawn, just gently moving around the woods, feeling safe, feeling empowered. Noticing the light, how it moves across your skin as you walk through the woods. So perhaps you're just wearing shorts and a vest top and it's quite a lovely warm day, and you see the light kind of dappling on you, giving you the opportunity to grow and to reach new understandings. Moving into the recognition that sometimes our greatest growths come from being in nature. Our greatest understandings come from the sun hitting our skin as we go about our business. Our own evolution goes hand in hand, perhaps, with how much time we have spent in nature or the time of year it is. Perhaps in winter we don't feel much like evolving, but when spring and summer comes, we begin to branch out and explore our creativity or our passions, or even sometimes our anger and rage bubbles up to the surface to be transformed and transmuted. And as you wander through this beautiful woodland, I want you to look around now. You're going to try to identify a wand for yourself. So it may be that you see just the perfect branch on a tree and you ask the tree's permission and remove the branch, and that's your wand. Or it might be that you find a fallen stick, something that feels entirely perfect to use as your wand. It may be large, it may be small, it may be like a magician's wand, or it may be something huge and big and vast. Recognizing that this is a tool for you to begin to conjure whatever is necessary next within your own life. So just taking a moment to explore the ground and the trees and the woodlands around you until you find your perfect wand. And when you have found your wand, I want you to clear a little space in the moss beneath you and sit down comfortably, taking a moment to explore your wand, looking at how it is formed, the shape of it, the feel of it, the bark upon it. And then to hold it close to your chest as you infuse it with your magic, making an agreement to work together to explore life and power and passion. And with the wand in your hands close to your heart, you might begin to recognize some areas of life that are calling to you at this moment and at this time, calling to you to explore them some more. So is it your creativity, or is it art, or new approaches to things within your life that you haven't tried? Or maybe there's some anger, frustration, rage beginning to tickle at your edges that needs to be honored and held and expressed. Taking a moment with your wand, just really think about what it is that's wishing to come through you profoundly and with meaning, and without really needing to recognize the hows or the whys or the whens, but just honoring the fact that there are some passionate, intense experiences within you that are wanting to be surfaced and felt and explored. So just taking a moment to really think on what that might be and seeing if any guidance arises for you as to how you might just gently start to explore this new passion. I apologize for my dog. Now for a moment, I just want you to imagine standing with your wand and beginning to sway, to dance, to be with the energy that wants to ripple through you. Sometimes we stay so tight to the familiar, and it's very difficult to allow passion to crack through those defenses, those limitations, those boundaries and blockages. And yet the ones present us with a new energy that may at first feel uncomfortable or unknown or uncertain. And we have to learn to dance with it. So taking a second, just beginning to just sway gently. You can do this in real life if you want. Feel free to stand up and move and be. Or you can just imagine yourself doing it. Either way is fine. Allowing this beautiful energy to just shift and filter and flow through you. Welcoming it in. Trusting that it has a path for you. Trusting that it is going to empower you. Perhaps twirling your wand through the air like a baton. Imagining energy and light streaming from the end of it, And then bringing that energy and light and placing it against your body so that you're using your wand and your intention to enlighten something inside of you, to switch a switch, to create a change, to allow something. And almost feeling the electricity moving through you, this kind of awakening, this moment of certainty and clarity that the ones have so much magic ready for you. And accepting that, feeling it ripple through your veins, your bones, your body, your skin. Taking a nice deep breath. And then whenever you are ready, just bringing yourself back to the woods, to the dappling light, to the sky, to your own personal growth. Taking a nice deep breath and allowing the woods to just gently fade away into the background so that you can return to your space where you are. Maybe taking a moment to just ground your feet to the floor, stretch, yawn, wiggle, jiggle. And whenever you are ready, returning to the room. Okay, so as you return to the room and you are back in this moment, what I'm going to ask you to do is to pull yourself a wands card. So this one we're going to do at random. So I will take one for the group and for our journey so far together. I'll just give them a little shuffle. So using just the wands. Okay, so our card is the Six of Wands. This is a card of celebration and success. So it'll be interesting to see how that compares and contrasts and sits with whatever your personal cards are. So do take a moment to think about how your card that you've pulled for yourself sits with the Six of Wands. So the Six of Wands is very much about recognizing how far you've come and the things that you have achieved in your life, which is lovely. Kind of acts as a reminder of accomplishment, which sometimes we can quite easily forget about. So have a think about those things that you've accomplished. And this feels like a nice high five, kind of the universe patting you on the back. How does that sit with the card that you pulled individually? Maybe journal on that. Maybe take a moment to just kind of compare and contrast. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is run through each card just to give you some ideas. So obviously what I say about the card is only as relevant as it feels to how you feel about the card. One of the things I will always say is that the card starts with you. I can give you a generic meaning. I can tell you what the card means to me, but your experiences of it may be different, or they may become different over time. And I absolutely welcome you to disregard what I have said and begin to create your own understandings of the card, because that will be ultimately what is easier for you to sit with and remember. Okay, so first card, using Rebel Heart, we have the Ace of Wands. So all aces, beautiful new beginnings, this potential, this gorgeous potential that sits in the moment that we could explore. And we are the ones who get to sharpen the pencil. We are the ones who get to use the pencil. We are the ones who get to rub it out and start again. Is that ultimate gorgeous beginning that we are being invited to explore. And like any ace, any beginning, it can be snuffed out as easily as another thought comes along, or a distraction or a life event, or, you know, you just kind of leave it on the back burner and soon forget about it. But the Ace of Wands is there saying, this is yours. You get to choose, you get to write, you get to wield the pencil. So think about how, that has been relevant to you. How have you had beginnings in your life where you have been invited to kind of creatively take charge of your own life? Next, we have the Two of Wands. This is my friend Emma. The Two of Wands to me is about moving out into adventure, but it's just that before you've moved, just before you've moved. So just before the big adventure, and there's this uncertainty, and there's the inner knowing that what you're moving into is quite alien, quite unique, quite different, and that the way you're going to approach it might be quite unique. We have these two signposts going left and right, but actually she's holding a crystal ball. And that crystal ball is her compass, it's her navigation tool, and it really references this inner knowing and the intuition. So with the Two of Wands, it's really about, yes, you're stepping out into the unknown, and it's entirely unknown to you. And the way you want to approach it is probably going to be very different than the people who you know and who you love and care about may approach it. So this is about being willing to enter the unknown with your unique perspective as guide, and being willing to do things differently than perhaps the norm. So again, think about any times in life where you have perhaps strayed from the well-worn path and done something that others dare not do, and how when you are in that area of life, there's nobody to guide you. There's nobody there to guide you. There may be friends to comfort you, there may be people to support you, but the only guidance is this inner experience. So how have you ever experienced that in different circumstances within your life, when you are like the voyager, the intrepid first person to have done something in a certain way? And now actually, I think once you do step out onto that path, you begin to attract people who have also experienced the same thing. But in the first instance, it's very much this alone journey. It's giving me chills for some reason, that card. Because I think at the time it does always feel quite lonely and isolating. But you have to just trust this gut, this instinct, to a degree that perhaps you've never had to before. But then we move to the Three of Wands, which is me, in my red coat. And she has the goal in sight now. So she's perhaps been walking this path for a while. She's this lone adventurer. She's the voyager. She's off into her journey and she's plodding, and this is the lighthouse. This is the next step. It may not be the end goal. It's just the next goal. And I think we need them sometimes, don't we? So we may have this one ultimate goal for our life, but actually the sort of trek, we need to stop at different points. We need to take stock. We need to see our each success. We need to be in these moments of, oh yeah, this is great. Let's sit here for a moment, and have a sandwich or whatever. But she's still kind of got this unknown path ahead of her, but there is she's created something. She's created something as a focal point, so that when she gets here, she can breathe, she can take it easy and then move on if she needs to. So the Three of Wands is really about the journey, and finding our way and how we do that and how we mark that journey. So for some reason, I can't locate my Four of Wands. I imagine I've used it and I've put it on a shelf or something. I do this. I annoy myself I'll pull out a card, and if it's meaningful, I'll pop it on a shelf somewhere, and then I can't find it. Anyway, so the Four of Wands in the Rebel Heart Tarot is this, in the card, it's a beautiful pink door. It's actually the artist's front door. I'm very envious of her pink door. And it's all about being at home, celebration, being in togetherness, being in our safe place. So I guess with the cards so far, we've had journey and adventure and new starts. And actually, sometimes we just need to go back home, whether that is our actual home or a place that is familiar and comfortable. It's a place where you can put your roots down and kind of let the energy of the day and the adventure kind of slip away and just be held and feel safe and feel secure. And also a lot of the times this card is a card of celebration. So it may be celebrating those successes, celebrating those lighthouses. It might be the things that punctuate life. So birthdays and weddings and divorces, I guess, for some people might be something to celebrate. It may be, you know, things where you feel like you're coming back home, having babies, other people having babies, big career moves, you know, these things that you come home to celebrate, you know, the good news, the togetherness, the kind of energy of, wow, life's actually going okay, let's go home and have a cake, you know. It's that honoring and doing it in our own little bubble. So I do, loving the Four of Wands. So have a think about, you know, when's the most recent time that you celebrated something or found cause for celebration within your life? And sometimes it is, we have to seek these things out. We have to find a reason, you know. We have to find a reason. Like I was at my grandma's funeral yesterday, and you find the reason, you know, you could see it as the depths of kind of despair and sadness, or you find the reason to celebrate their life and who they were and what they brought. So that, you know, the Four of Wands can show up in any of the ways that we celebrate who we are, who other people are, and how we do that in our unique safe spaces. And actually, in the end, I didn't go to the funeral because it was quite far and there was flooding on the roads, and I watched it via Zoom. So I actually watched it right here where I'm sat now, which was kind of odd, but also it did liberate me to cry my eyes out. You know, being at home allowed me to perhaps express and feel things in a way that maybe I wouldn't have done quite so much, or would have held back on had I been in the crematorium. So next is the Five of Wands. This is where the journey gets a bit trickier. So far we've had people kind of looking into their balls and moving forward on their path. This is like when things become tricky and difficult, and the determination upon this woman who is climbing this ledge that is like going in the wrong direction, her determination is probably equal parts exhaustion, but she's determined to get to the next level. And often with the Five of Wands, the more traditional images tend to show people kind of fighting with sticks, because it can feel like a fight. So whether that's an actual fight with your circumstances or with people within your life, it doesn't really matter. But with this card, it would definitely suggest that you're kind of clinging on by your fingertips, but within those fingertips there's some real raw power that's going to help you get to the next place. And the thing is with the tarot, as I always say, they're a reflection of truth, absolutely. And so there will be times where we are clinging on by our fingertips, but we have that determination to keep going and to overcome and to find a smoother kind of ride forward, movement forward. So then we have the Six of Wands, which was our card that came out for us as a collective. So the Six of Wands is, we've done it. We've got to the other side of that cliff edge and we've overcome some stuff and perhaps been quite successful in certain areas of our lives. And maybe we need to really look at that, because sometimes we go a bit down on ourselves, don't we? And we look at other people's success and think, well, I've done all right, but I've not done as good as them. But actually, this is no, honor your own things that you've achieved. Even if it's, you know, even if it's not kind of certificates or medals or trophies, even if it's just you overcame something really difficult, or you know yourself better than you did 2 years ago, even that is a triumph, you know. And that's what the Six of Wands is about, is that triumph. You know, buy yourself some flowers, give yourself the medal, you know. You're doing well, you're adapting, and you're becoming. And I think there's a huge amount of power and gorgeousness in that card. And it infuses us, doesn't it? It infuses us with the energy we need to keep going. So then we have the Seven of Wands, which is like a rebellious kind of standing up for yourself, maybe feeling like the world doesn't get you, things are against you. But this is like, okay, well, from that space, how do you be the rebel? How do you forge change, not just for yourself, but maybe for communities and wider into the world? How do you fight for what you believe in when everybody else is telling you that you shouldn't, or you ought not, or you're upsetting the apple cart? This is very much that kind of freedom fighter vibe, which we all can feel on different levels as a moral and ethical compulsion here to do the right thing, even when perhaps everybody else is telling us it's the wrong thing, or when we are pinpointed and called out for it. So the Seven of Wands is protecting ourselves and recognizing that we won't always fit in, but that we are, from this place, perhaps empowered to create interesting change within the world, within our lives, within our own understandings of what life is. Okay. So then we have the Eight of Wands. It's often about communication. So a lot of the cards, you'll see a lot of wands coming in, information, communication, news, emails, new information coming to light that you have not known before, which perhaps is a game changer. So we have this character, this little woman, who I call her a little woman because I've known her since she was a newborn baby, but she's a little woman now, and she has all this information in this like vortex in her mind, and she has to sit with it. So I think when we are like given lots of information, perhaps about lots of different things, we have to sit with it. We can't just sort through it like immediately. We have to breathe into it, meditate into it, pray into it, wait for the like influx of information to slow, so that we know that we have everything that we need, so that we can make the right choices. So have a think about how that may sometimes have happened for you. It's kind of lots and lots of info and communications, and how you can't act immediately, because if you do, you might not have the full picture. So we have the Nine of Wands, so that's me. It's very similar to, if you've seen my Cosmic Mother deck, which I painted with my daughter, it's kind of based off the imagery that I painted in that deck. But this is the stepping out again into the unknown, but this time it's a bit further along. You feel more supported, you feel more guided, you feel more protected, and you know that with the next, maybe you don't need that lighthouse in the far distance, maybe you just need the next step. You know that you will be met by an actual pencil to line your way. You will always have that creative power. You will, no matter what, there is protection around you. There is your own instincts and intelligence and inner knowing. And all of this is set to kind of buoy you up and help you rise and elevate. And there's just this beautiful trust within you as you do that, and self-trust, I think, as well. So number 10 of Wands, where are you? Right, total overwhelm. Total overwhelm. So this is Nikki, the artist, with like her vacuum cleaner and her washing and all the wands stacked up on her back, very much built out of the domestic rigors that many of us may find ourselves in. This is my daughter. She came down into the kitchen, I think, one day when we were designing these cards, and it was Halloween, and she'd wrapped herself up in toilet roll, and she was like, I'm a mummy, as in an Egyptian mummy. I was like, just hold it, I need to take a picture of you for the cards, because it's kind of, I guess many of us may relate to this, whether we have children or not. It's just the chaos of trying to run life can feel like an awful lot. It can feel like too much sometimes, and that's what, when the 10 of Wands comes up, it is that general overwhelm. And it would be, the message here is, what can you put down? So what of all these things that are taking up your energy and your attention, what needs to be put down and relented, so that you can bring yourself back to yourself and deal with, the actual things that maybe need dealing with more. Because otherwise you're just not going to be able to, you'll burn out, exhaustion, become ill. All of those things are kind of a warning when you, and also just missing life. You miss life when you're like so consumed with doing everything. Right, then we have the Page of Wands, lovely, adventurous kind of card of that youthful energy of going back to study, of going back to your books. You have this pink cloud as a head that's like absorbing information. So when this card comes up, I would say you're being called into study, into training, into new explorations of who you are and how you might want to show up in the world, and kind of taking on all of that information and being a student knowing that this will buoy you up in the future for whatever it is that you go on to do with your life next. Then we have the Knight of Wands, this furious, kind of energetic, powerful, raw power. So this dude, he's on a mission. He is, you know, either really passionate or really furious, or he wants to get something done. The problem, there is a little bit of with this card. And as I said, most cards, you can see two sides. He can burn bridges. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes you might want to burn bridges. That might be exactly what it's called for. But there are also other times when maybe you're just super passionate about something and it creates more drama than necessary because you're blinkered and you can't see how maybe you're affecting other people. But this is, you know, I'd also say there is great worth, particularly for women, to express our rage and our passion, because we've always been kind of encouraged not to go to those extremes. But this is like, no, how can you bring that to the surface? How can you engage with that in your everyday life? It's a really powerful card, and it will get you places, and it may cut some serious cords, but that might be exactly what you need. Then we have the Queen of Wands, our box cover girl. Leadership, creative leadership is the, you know, the two words that springs to mind. She's this wonderful, warm, loving woman who wants to guide other people, at the same time create her own sort of spiritual creative path forward. She stands in full acceptance of that. There's no self-doubt. There's no kind of imposter syndrome. She's just like, yeah, this is me and this is what I do, and I'll help you do it too, you know. But only if you don't mess me around. And, you know, we're all kind of in it for the community. There's something about the community with the Queen of Wands, is she's sharing her wealth of life understanding and creative understanding with people, so that, you know, everybody can raise up and evolve. I love her. And then the final one, the King of Wands, is this infusion of kind of raw creative power that is being wielded from a place of true leadership. Like the Queen of Wands is a leader. This guy is like almost like the leader's boss. He's oversight. He's certainty in his path and his creative knowing. And there's a real kind of truth embodied within this, that I am this person, I am this creative goddess of my own life, and this is how things are going to be done. And I think there's a huge amount of abundance can be gained from that, not necessarily financial abundance, but in terms of self-awareness and self-knowing. The King of Wands is not going to waste any energy on anything other than what feels most pure to him, and how he can continue to create onwards and support the people with whom he is perhaps the leader. And maybe at times step off and let other people, you know, the king doesn't do the work himself, does he? He allows other people. So it's that even height, whereas the queen is perhaps a little bit more hands-on and in there, and, you know, in the kitchen making the bread with the people who are learning how to make bread. He'd be more like setting the courses up, or telling someone else to set the course up and overseeing it and kind of popping in to observe, and somehow creating the space for this all to happen. So really interesting cards. I love the ones. They're, you know, they're generally quite, not really much negativity within that, although of course when you pull it using the cards along with the other cards, the messages all change, as you will come to see. So your last little piece of homework, your last little task before we finish, is to take a major card and a wand. So separate out your majors, separate out your wands, and then have a little look and see what story is being told to you right now, and take that as your guidance for the rest of the week. Okay, so we did manage to do 45 minutes. I hope there's plenty of exercises in there for you to have a little practice with as you move through till the next meeting, which is in 2 days on Friday. So I hope to see some of you live. All right, thank you for watching back. Bye.